We all live by rules. Some of them are super simple, written down in black and white. But then there are the unwritten ones, the blurry ones, and those can lead to some really furious debates. Today, we're going to explore those hidden rules of creation, from inside a classroom all the way to the world of comic books. So, an English exam for a kid and a top secret plan for Superman kind of seems like a weird connection, right? But believe it or not, the link between them actually tells us something really important about how we build worlds, whether we're using language or creating legends. Let's connect those dots. All right, first things first, let's start with the most basic rules we all have to learn, the rules of language. I mean, how do you even begin to teach a system as complicated as English to millions of people all over the globe? Well, you start by creating a framework. And this is a perfect example of a totally structured system. The Cambridge Young Learners tests are designed to take a child from knowing basically nothing to being proficient, and it's all along a very clear, predefined path. It's like creation, but in a totally controlled environment, starting from the ground up. And the scale of this thing, it's just massive. We're talking nearly 6 million of these assessments taken every single year. This isn't just a few classes here and there. It's a global machine for learning a language, and it's all built on a foundation of clear, solid, repeatable rules. So here's how that roadmap actually works. Learners move through these really distinct stages. You've got starters, then movers, and then flyers. Each level builds directly on the one before it. This is exactly what we mean by building blocks. It's a clear, unchangeable path to getting good at this stuff. And just look at this. On one hand, you have these fun, friendly-looking characters to make it engaging, but on the other, you've got a test with incredibly specific, rule-based tasks, like, is this a helicopter? Yes or no? That's the whole system in a nutshell. You get to be creative, but only inside this very rigid, clearly defined box. And here's what's going on under the hood. Learners get these specific vocabulary lists they have to memorize, concrete grammar rules they need to master, and there's a huge emphasis on getting the spelling right. You have to learn all the pieces, all the fundamental rules before you can even think about building your own sentences and stories. Okay, so we've got our building blocks. We understand the rules, but what happens when you use those blocks to create something bigger? Not just a sentence, but a whole story. Let's jump from the rules of language to the blueprint for a hero. So picture this, it's the 1980s, and for a hot minute, Marvel Comics was thinking about licensing the rights to DC's characters. The legendary creator John Byrne wrote this incredibly detailed plot for what would have been Marvel's very first Superman issue. It was a complete, structured plan from start to finish. I mean, just look at how organized this is. The plot moves perfectly in order through all the key moments of a new Superman origin story. You've got Krypton, Smallville, him discovering his powers, a big personal tragedy, and finally his arrival in Metropolis. Every single step is a deliberate piece of the blueprint. And even inside that tight structure, there's still room for some creative flair. Byrne's description of Lois Lane here gives you a real sense of the tone he was going for. A bit grittier, more down to earth. It's a blueprint, for sure, but it's one with a ton of personality. So, this plot was submitted to Marvel's editor-in-chief at the time, a guy named Jim Shooter. In the end, the whole deal never happened. But then, decades later, Shooter goes and posts a detailed summary of Byrne's entire plot on his personal blog. And that's when things got complicated. What happened next was this fiery debate that just exploded in the comment section of Shooter's blog. It was a debate not about legal rules, but about the unwritten professional rules of creative ownership. The whole debate really boiled down to two completely different points of view. On one side, you had Jim Shooter, who argued that, legally, he was in the clear. He paraphrased the plot, he didn't post Byrne's exact words, and you can't copyright an idea. But on the other side, you had commenters saying, hey, this isn't about the law, it's about professional courtesy. And this one comment really just nails the heart of that counter-argument. For a lot of people, the issue wasn't about the letter of the law. It was about the spirit of creative collaboration and simple respect. But Shooter, for his part, totally stood his ground. He responded directly to his critics, basically saying that he believed what he did was fair and that he had every right to tell his side of the story. And then, of course, the legal perspective jumped back in. Another commenter just dismissed the whole ethical argument entirely, pointing right back to the specifics of copyright law. They basically suggested the whole debate was based on a total misunderstanding of how the law actually works. So, where does that leave us? We've gone from the clearest, most black and white rules to this incredibly murky debate. And it's all circling this one huge question. I mean, think about the path we've taken here. We started with the Cambridge English tests, a world of absolute rights and wrongs. Then we saw how those kinds of rules can be used to build a creative blueprint. But when that blueprint got shared, it lit a fuse on a firestorm over a whole different set of rules, the unspoken codes of conduct between creators. And that's really the question I want to leave you with. In a world where information can be shared with a click, what are the rules of the road for our ideas? Is a blueprint something you can own forever once you've shared it? Or does it become part of the historical record, free for anyone to talk about? Honestly, it's a question without any easy answers.